Hi there, and welcome to this lesson on how to balance equations presented to you by the Chaotic Classroom. This lesson is aimed at grade 9 natural science learners using the CAPS syllabus. So let's have a look at what we need to do when we are balancing an equation. Remember, first thing that you need to do is write the equation down in pen. That allows you to make any changes and calculations in pencil, so that if you make a mistake, you can just erase it. Remember to count your atoms on both sides. I recommend starting with oxygen, but you're allowed to start with anything else. Because remember, never to panic. There is a solution. Let's have a look at example number 1. In this example, we have calcium and oxygen on the left, and they are reacting to give us calcium oxide. So I'm going to start by drawing a little line under the arrow so that I can count my atoms. On the left-hand side, I have 1 calcium. On the right-hand side, I have 1 calcium. So calcium is not our problem. Let's have a look at oxygen. On the left, I have 2 oxygens. On the right, I have 1 oxygen. So oxygen is our problem. So how are we going to fix that? Well, we're going to put a little number 2 in front of the calcium oxide over there. That fixes our oxygen situation. However, it also causes a slight problem there with the calcium. But that's okay. Then we just jump over the arrow to the left and we put a little 2 in front of the calcium so that the calcium is also a 2. And have a look there. 2 calciums on both sides, 2 oxygens on both sides. And then we move on. Example number 2. Now we have sodium reacting with oxygen to give us sodium oxide. So I'm going to start by drawing a little line again. This isn't a must. You don't have to do this. You're not getting marks for it. But it helps to keep the 2 sides separate. And remember, we always write the 2 elements that we are comparing in the same line. So sodium on the left in the same line as the sodium on the right. Oxygen on the left in the same line as oxygen on the right. So let's count. Sodium, we have 1 on the left, 2 on the right. That's going to be a problem. And 2 oxygens on the left and 1 oxygen on the right. So let's start by fixing the oxygens. So let's have a look. So on the right hand side we have 1, on the left hand side we have 2. So we want to make this one 2. How do we do that? The only way we can do that is putting a 2 in front of the sodium oxide. However, that little 2 also applies to the sodium, which means the sodium is now 4, because we're going to take that little 2 and multiply it by 2. Now we have to fix the one on the left-hand side. How are we going to make it? Well, we're going to make it 4. And all we're going to do is we're going to put a little 4 in front of the sodium. Problem solved. Example number 3. Now we have lithium reacting with oxygen to give us lithium oxide. Lithium on the left-hand side is 1. Lithium on the right-hand side is 1. So lithium is not a problem. But look here. There's the oxygen. Oxygen is our problem. How do we fix it? Make it 2 on the right-hand side. Remember, it also affects the lithium, so the lithiums will then be 2. Then we jump over to the left and we fix that one as well. So now we just put a little 2 in front of the lithium and look there. Problem solved. Let's have a look at our last one. Now this one's a little bit more complicated, but nothing we can't handle. So we start by writing down our little line, and we start with oxygen and iron on the left. So iron we have 1, oxygen we have 2. On the right hand side we have 2 irons, look there, and we have 3 oxygens. Now, unlike all of the other examples where we could just multiply by 2 or multiply by 3, now we can't do that. So between the 2 types of oxygen, we are now going to have to look for the smallest common multiple. So remember, we have 2 on the left, 2 on the right. So we're going to have to multiply by 3 on the left with the oxygen, just so we can find the smallest common multiple. And with the oxygen on the right, we're going to have to multiply by 2. Right, so let's see. On the left-hand side, we want to put a 3 in front of the oxygen. That changes our oxygen situation to a 6. On the right-hand side, we're going to put a 2 in front of the whole thing. Remember, you can't change any of the little subscripts and everything like that. That will change the oxygen to a 6. But on the right-hand side, the moment we put that little 2 in front of it, we also change the ion, which means the ion is now 4. So ion's a problem. So jump back to the left. We want to change the ion to a 4. And then that means we have to put a little 4 over there. And look there. It's balanced. Problem solved. Now remember, right, now if you are having trouble balancing this equation, here are some things to try. First up, check. Did you count correctly? Maybe. No. Did you count correctly? Did you copy correctly from the question? Did you copy the question correctly? If you are getting stuck and the question doesn't want to work out and you're having trouble balancing it, here are some things to try. Did you copy the question correctly from the question paper? Sometimes you're missing a little 2 or you're missing something there, and maybe that's the reason why things aren't working out. Right, next up, ask yourself, did you count correctly? Maybe you made a little mistake, okay, when you were counting. Always good to go back. That's why we do this in pencil, so that we can erase it and start from the beginning. And then, if this is one of the questions that you're struggling with and there are still other questions that you can do, move on. You can always come back to it later when you have time. Until then, good luck. Until then, good luck.